Herman, welcome back.
Glad to be here, Chief. Glad to be here, Chief.
The first question, of course, is has it changed a little bit from what you remember? Both the city and the department, I guess.
Well, I would say to compare this would be to go back to the 1800s with horse and buggy and then come back to this.
What was the population of Fitchburg when the department started?
4,700.
4,700. So to put this in reference for you, I get a great privilege this morning to be the questioner for our first fire chief for the city of Fitchburg, Herman Pfund. Became our first fire chief, and I'm actually going to ask you some of the questions about the early days, and you can kind of tell us about it.
I'll try.
But he was also my chief when I first started, so it's kind of an added special event for that. So
Great.
So, Herman, tell me a little bit about how the department came to be, and the when, and the timing of it that you can remember.
Well, at the time I was working for Dane County, and Bill McKee was the town chairman, and he was also chairman of the Public Works Department with who I worked for in Dane County.
Okay, all right.
And I had already at that time been connected with the fire service since 1944. And Bill had known that because we'd known each other for years. So anyway, and I had moved out here to Fitchburg in 1971. We built the house. And it was possibly that same year or the next year, Bill McKee called up one night from their board meeting about 10:30.
Okay.
He says, Hermie, would you be willing to accept a volunteer chief at no pay and start a fire department? And I said, well, we have no rules, regulations, or anything in Fitchburg. And well, he says, you get it all started. So I did. I contacted a number of chief friends I had and got their rules and regulations and started from there. It took a few months, but to get what I wanted, in which I had the privilege of what millions of firemen would love to be, is to start their own department from the word go.
That's a unique opportunity.
You bet it was a challenge. And so I did. I got the rules and got them all ready, and we had a couple of fellows in Fitchburg here that had worked with this village tanker or city tanker, street department tanker, worked with the three departments, Verona, Town of Madison, and Oregon.
Okay.
And so that helped to start training those fellows. So this went on, and in the meantime, we had bought a van type for a rescue truck to work with the tanker and with these other departments. So then it was about a year later or so that during their negotiations with these other three communities, Bill called up one night again, and he says, Hermie, how soon can you get a pumper? And I says, the minute you hang up. So Carl Groth was salesman and who I'd known for years, and for Peter Persh. And so I called Carl and says, Carl, we need a pumper. You got one. He says, send two guys down tomorrow and you'll have a pumper. So
it kind of beats the 8-month delivery time we have now.
Yeah. So they went down to West Bend and picked up the old Persh that we had. That was a 47 Persh. 47 or 48.
That was the old open cab.
The open cab Persh.
Okay.
So Dick Hammersley and Matt White, they took off and went down and picked it up and brought it back. Well, we trained for maybe a month or two or something like that. And Bill says, well, when are you ready to take over some of the area? Well, we took over Town of Madison's area first.
Okay.
Then right away, he says, now you write the specs for a new pumper. which we did for that white Ford that we had.
Yep.
That was a,
Yep.
and that was a 71 or 2, wasn't it?
72, I think,
72, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had that delivered, and then that's when Bill says, okay, you're covering all the territory now. Think you can handle it? We'll try.
Yep.
So we did. Well, right away, then, we had no room. We had before the truck was delivered, he says, let's start the new station. So-
Because up until then, you were located
in the old town
in
hall,
the old town hall.
in the street department area.
Yep.
No office space, no nothing. We just, everything was done on a table next to the vehicles.
Truck.
So then they designed the station, we built the station, and then we moved in. In the meantime, we got the new Ford then. And so we moved into the new station, and right away Bill says, now start ordering. So or the board did, authorize me, so we ordered the first pumper, which was a 74. In fact, we ordered both of them, then the aerial and the pumper.
Aerial and the pumper.
And
yeah.
we got those in 1974. And so then that was what we had. Then we bought the grass rig, which was a little Ford pickup truck with a utility body on it.
And wasn't there an old Army?
Then we had, well,
Okay.
we had the old Army one first that we got, an Army surplus,
Yeah,
and rigged that up, and then we bought this newer one. Well, then in the meantime, how did that go now? Anyway, then we sold that to a salesman out in Iowa, the grass rig, we called it. And then we went on from there. Well, then we bought the twin tankers
Yep.
in the meantime.
Yep.
And that time I had met some friends of mine in Pennsylvania, and instead of the old hose outlets for dumping, they had this fast dump design. So we got together with, that made the tankers, built the
Oh,
tankers.
Welch.
Welch.
Yep. Yep.
Sat down with him, and he says, well, why don't we put one on each side and one in the back of those dumpers? It's the first one he ever built.
Yep.
So we did that with the twins were in that. And then we went on from there and started getting toward my, well, then in 78, who was mayor then?
Well,
He worked
it'd
for
be-
DNR.
It'd be town chairman
Or-
at that point in time, right? 'Cause
Yes, it
yeah,
was.
And that probably would have been Doug Morris.
Doug Morissette,
Yep.
that's what it was. He says, well, Herman, he says, it's time to be full-time chief. Would you be willing? I said, well, I'm not going to take a cut and pay to come out here and be full-time chief, and so on. Also, they raised it a nice little amount at that time.
Yeah.
And so I came out here then in 78 as full-time chief, and then we just continued on building there, and then we added Rick
Rick Travascus.
Travascus
Yeah.
as full-time inspector then in the meantime.
Okay.
Well, then the years went on, and I always said at 62, this cookie's going out the door and going on Social Security. So I talked to the state, and the lady told me, well, if you go full 5 years, it would add to your pension,
Okay.
be full paid. So I did then till 82, and I said, adios, boys.
Well,
This boy is out the door.
Had all that fun that you have in the retirement years.
And then it was an experience that you'll never forget, of starting a department yourself and the way you wanted it, and experiences you had and the problems you had, which was many, and it all ended up, I think.
And you touched on the design of the tankers. I mean, the one thing that I learned early on when I joined, it was Fitchburg has always been known for innovation, always been
Yes.
known to try stuff.
Try stuff new.
Some of it worked better than others.
That's right.
One of the things. Well, I mean, that tradition, obviously, hopefully,
Still
is
carries
continued
on, I hope.
carried on. And again, some work better than others, but one of the things that has just been magic about this department has been the intern program.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how that got started.
Well, this came from other departments. And it was a department in Ohio, good friend of mine, and he had that. And he kind of gave me all the ideas and what to do and how to do it. Well, in the meantime, I forgot his name, but he worked for MATC. And gosh, anyway, he said about that program. So I told him this idea I had about having live-ins. And he said, that'd be great if get those that are going to school for fire science.
All right.
And which we did. And we started out with 2 of them. And then we went up to 3. And when I left, we had 4.
Yeah.
And which was the greatest thing for the department because they were always here. At that time, we took the calls directly to the department.
I was going to come back around to that one in a second, but yeah.
And so then we furnished one room we got some, I happened to be, remember the county was getting rid of some furniture, and so I was able to pick up 4 single beds. And got them in here and set them up in the dormitory and for the kids. And we had the kitchen to them and the lounge room, and got them a TV set, and so we set it up for them too. And then that way during the day they would go to MATC and for their education, which helped them because this was no cost to them at all here, and it was a benefit to us. And they got the same pay as which was 50 cents a call and 50 cents training as we did.
The mayor would probably like that pay scale.
Yeah, right.
Go back to 50 cents.
So anyway, that it helped the kids. That way they saved money and from going to go to school and get fire science.
Living expenses. They didn't have to worry about that other than food and. Yeah.
And they had the place to themselves, and they could put out the alarm always for us, and they had the vehicles running when we got here, and everything was all, doors were open, and nobody had to open the doors or overhead doors. So it worked out beautiful for us.
I mean, those of us that have grown up around technology, smartphones and everything we have today, describe how the calls used to come to the department and what would happen when the old fire phone would ring.
Well, at first we had 10 phones at 10 firemen's houses, and whoever got to their phone faster took the call, and then we put it out in a plectron system we had, and then put it out on that to call the firemen. Well, then when we had the kids in here, then we didn't need that anymore. And
so at night they'd answer the phone.
They'd do all the answering then, and usually we tried to keep one of them here during the day.
Okay.
Yeah, they arranged their schedules so they could do that. And the ironic part is that we were the first department in Wisconsin that started that program. I don't know how many there is now, but
there's a lot, actually.
There's a lot, yeah.
It's been a model.
We were the first ones to start that program, and everybody thought it was great. How'd you do that? Well, we set up quite a few departments with that, but we got it from Ohio is where it came from.
Interesting.
The idea. And I said that a lot of the innovations we had here, I got from national meetings, and I'm a believer in that. You get more from after the daily sessions in the hotel rooms when a bunch of chiefs get together and everybody puts their ideas on the table, how you do this, and you copy it. And I got a lot of that from, and you can pick up a lot of ideas that way. And I'm a believer in that, attending conventions. I don't know, and I was lucky to, well, some of them I got reimbursed, but most of them I was out of my pocket. And we always said all over the years that I'd been connected with associations in the fire service that we probably spent, my wife always claims we spent close to $50,000 of our own money going to conventions.
Sure.
And that. But I feel I secured a lot of information by going to those places, and you do. And at the sessions, well, a lot of them are overboard, and you may get a little bit, but it's the evening sessions you have with a group of fellows in a hotel room. That's when you get the information, because they're ready to open up, and a lot of these fellows, you'd be surprised, are afraid to speak to a group of people in an auditorium, but they'll open up at a table.
Yep, sitting around the table.
It's interesting of the good information you can get, and which is a learning experience. I'll tell you, I always said that I had the honor of starting a department and going through the hassles of budgets.
That hasn't changed.
I says when I left, I think our budget was, maybe it hit 100,000, I don't know, but that was about it. But they always, one thing the board did.
We're slightly more than that.
Yeah, I know you are. One thing the board did, they set up a fund, what they call the new equipment fund, see. And every year they would put so much into that new equipment fund. So you didn't get hit hard when you bought something.
Yeah.
And we had quite a bit of money in that new equipment when we bought the two, because every department thought we were nuts when we bought the pumper and aerial together. And the ironic part is that we never bid. And because the state law had that emergency equipment that you didn't have to bid,
Exemption,
which we
sure.
didn't. And we sat down with Carl Groth for hours and hours and hours in the room in the building, and back and forth went our money offers. And our pumper was copied by two other departments.
Well,
and we got ours for $10,000 less than the others got for had to pay on bids. So, you learn a lot of the, well, let's put it this way, we had an attorney on the board, and
that helps.
That,
that helped.
That made a big, but you've got to check into those little things, and you can gain a lot by doing that.
A couple of comments for you, just so that you know kind of where some of these things have gone. Certainly on the tenders or tankers, we call them tenders now.
Tenders now.
With the side dumps, there are very few tankers that are built today that aren't built that way. That has become just a standard, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that you can feel incredibly proud of, we stay in contact with our graduating interns.
Great.
The program started, 1975, I think was the first year, the two interns. Since then, we stay in contact with them. We invite them back. Do a summer picnic. We do the annual dinner. We have young men and women that have gone through that program that are now chiefs around the state. We have graduates from the intern program all over the United States, from Virginia to North Carolina to South Carolina to Maine, and all over the Midwest. And it's been, I think, one of the things for me that has been most rewarding and most fun has been to watch those young men and women as they grow in their career, knowing that we had a chance to help them get their start. The one question that I think everybody would want me to ask, but quite honestly, I'm not going to ask you for the answer because I'm afraid of where this could go. We could spend hours talking about this. The stories, that happens, right?
Yeah, all these.
Fitchburg, engine 1, engine 2.
You want to ride along on a call? You can ride with me.
Oh, go. Sure.
Fitchburg, ladder 1, squad 2, utility 1, car 1.
I don't think anybody's going to believe that we didn't set that up to actually have a call while you're actually here. But I will put you on the spot. For those who don't know, we just had a structure fire call at one of our high-rise assisted living facilities. So Chief Pfund got a chance to see us in action, which was not set up, by the way. That was not planned. Compare that to 1978. Are we doing okay?
Oh gosh, everything went just smoothly, so smooth, and the commands handled everything just the way it's supposed to go. And the response you got from the orders that were given by command immediately was accepted and done. And the handling of the residents in the facilities was outstanding. That was great too. It seemed like that was, naturally the smoke, eliminating that in the building, but the handling of the residents to where they were supposed to go and to see where they were, check everybody out, just went smoothly. And I work with senior citizens at a nursing home a lot.
Yeah.
And to see how you handled them was just great, because there's a certain way you have to handle them type of people. And you fellows did a wonderful job. It was great. I was proud to see that.
I think I say it every December at the annual dinner about the fact that we're very unique here in Fitchburg, where we have our founding fathers literally still here, to help us understand what we're doing right and what we're doing
wrong.
So I appreciate it.
That was great. I enjoyed that immensely.
So before the slight interruption, we were talking about the intern program. Some of your memories, fond memories, humorous memories of the intern program?
Well, I'll go
Without
serious
names,
first.
by the way.
Yeah, I'll go serious first. Out of the interns that I had while I was here, we got 6 of them for sure that are now chiefs.
Yep.
While I was here, those interns, which I'm proud of that very much, because it just shows what they were able to pick up here and learn here and provide to move on. And I tease some of them yet about it. But the funniest part was that the one that I'll always remember is we had one kid that he was hard to wake up. So one night they thought they would do a doozy on him. So they goes in the room. We had casters on our beds, single beds. Well, they opened the overhead doors and they rolled the bed out and put him out on the apron. Never woke up. And we left him to sit there. And he was sound asleep for about an hour until some truck went by, made a lot of noise, and he woke up. And here we were in the door laughing our heads off. The poor guy out on the apron sleeping in his bed. That was one we won't forget. Then another one, we were in the lounge and sitting there, the group of fellows, and this one, he was a pretty good-sized kid. And he always told me, he says, I could deck you any time and put you on the floor flat. Okay. Well, they started to razz him, the rest of the guys. And, okay, I says, let's try it. What the heck? We had carpeted floor like this. He got up, and I got up, and an old trick I learned is when they want to wrestle you and you grab them, take that right leg and just get behind his other leg and jerk. And he's flat on his back on the floor, see. And that's what I did in just a second. Here he was. The poor kid got such a razzing for months and months and months and months of how he could let an older fellow take him and knock him flat on the floor. And he did. He doesn't forget that shit.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So anyway, we were, to continue this story, he is now, I think he's battalion captain or assistant chief. Anyway, we went down to visit him one day. Well, this fellow says, right along with me, I got business in Beloit. We shouldn't have said that. Anyway,
It's all right.
we got down there and looked around, introduced to us, the group, and so we went into the dining area and had lunch, and most of the firemen that were on duty were at a big table, and the three of us were sitting at one table. And so one of them says, "Have you got anything to say about?"
So and so. Yeah.
I said, "Yeah," and I told him about the time we decked him. Oh my God. Don't you ever come down here and tell another story, because he's not living that down for years. But we had, there was a few others we had that they had a problem one day in the kitchen. They were going to really cook some meal. Well, they did. We were lucky we didn't have a fire in the
Burned the
kitchen,
oven
but we had a lot of smoke. They burned up everything solid in the oven on top of the stove. It was not fit for a dog. Oh, those guys, so we told them, now you got to paint the kitchen. Didn't need it. It's all that needed cleaning up. But we made them paint the kitchen.
I've learned through the years, you know, when I'll stop in the stations and I notice a particular mark on the wall or a dent or a hole here or there, that the best thing to do is just not ask.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's
But whoever's on duty, you fix it.
yeah, exactly. Just make that go away.
Hey.
I mean, you know, a lot of the you know, the founding members of the department still around, come back and join us at December. I guess the other question I was going to ask is about incidents, things that through the years always struck you as either, you know, very interesting or you know, changed the way the department did things.
Well, not offhand. Like, my memory isn't that good. But anyway, we meet once a month.
Oh, that's right.
Except the 3 months in the summer. And so all of us retired guys, there's usually 10, 11 of us. And we get together someplace to have lunch. And there we come with the stories.
Oh, yeah.
Not about ourselves, but about the other guy, or, you know.
Yeah.
And they'll come up with things that I forgot all about. And some really good ones, but offhand, I just...
How many, do you remember how many runs a year when, you know, in the early days?
Oh gosh, we'd be lucky if we had 50, 60 runs at the first year or two that we were doing this. But then it got up, I think when I retired, we were up to around 150, 200 then. But that was our limit.
Yeah.
And
we had 143 last month.
Last month.
Just for reference.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
No,
So, I mean,
No.
you got a chance to see the city a little bit as Herman rode along with me in one of the cars while we were going up to the fire. Thoughts about the city as it's changed through the
oh
years?
gosh, unrecognizable. There's areas that are now completely built up that was hayfields before, cornfields. It's just amazing. Well, 4,700 compared, what is it, 30-some thousand now?
25.
25,000?
Just a little over 25,000.
Well,
Yeah, almost 5 times.
jeepers, yeah. The biggest we had then was Breckenridge. And one across from Breckenridge.
Oh, well, back then,
It was,
New Fountains, well, not New Fountains, Ridgewood.
Ridgewood Trace. Ridgewood Trace, yeah, right.
And the country club
Yeah,
apartments.
that was all we had for anything of good size.
What was the first big commercial development that started to come into the
That
city?
was that little shopping mall up at where Mobile Station is now.
Okay.
That was the
Yeah.
first. That was it.
Fitchburg Ridge.
Yeah, that was all we had.
Yeah, it had the grocery store on the
Yeah,
end.
Flower Bus
Flower
at the
Bus,
grocery
yep.
store, yeah.
He used to treat us really well. With
Yeah,
the food and
he
the meat
was-
and everything. Sure.
Yeah, that was our first note, and those two complexes were the biggest we had. That was all. And luckily, a lot of our fires was grass fires we had. mostly, or else a machine fire. Car wreck.
There was a few barns thrown in there, as I remember.
Yeah, I can remember two of them. That was the only ones I think I can remember now.
The
One was the Fay barn, and the other was McKee barn.
Oh yeah, sure, the McKee.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you know the thing about
That-
the McKee barn. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that was the first time we rolled our 4-inch hose off the old Perch.
And
We had that loaded.
that was another innovation
Yeah,
by Fitchburg Fire,
Right.
In terms of that old Perch when you
I
outfitted.
had it
You
loaded with
describe
all,
that?
all the 4-inch hose we put on there. And that would lay first, right to the first bumper. And which was great. It was easy to unload off that open back end, and they could even walk with the purse to see that it came off right. And that works well. We've used that a number of times, but but that was the first time that we actually used it, and gave us plenty of water.
Oh, yeah. So, just thinking about other questions, these are all sort of the questions that you never think to ask. The original color of the trucks was
White.
white, and what went into the white?
Well, we've seen some in other departments. And we had lots of arguments because being this town of Fitchburg was called the Irish Township, so they wanted green.
I'll come back to that in a minute.
And
You've seen what we've done, right? Yeah.
we said, no green for us. Then we went to the yellow.
The safety yellow.
A safety yellow. That was the big thing in the east. There's another one we got from the east.
Yeah.
Because they said the safety yellow, and we had a friend up near Minneapolis Fire Department, and he says, "You stupid guys go with white in a snow area." Why, my God, nobody see those trucks coming down the road. I said, well, that's what we got lights for. But anyway, then we went to the yellow one. We bought the two new ones, and
Okay.
the
so
pumper and the aerial.
The twins. In
Yeah, then we
74. Yeah.
Then we went to the safety yellow, they called it.
So I probably shouldn't ask you what you think about the emerald green. That
Oh no, it's a nice color, but we didn't want to be stamped as Irish.
We got there eventually.
Yeah, you got there eventually. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard when you have the McKees, the Lacey's, right? The Fahey's, the Wentz,
all Irish.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a very Irish heritage.
But they never complained when we went to the safety yellow. And so we were lucky that. Well, we even had one guy who wanted to copy Monroe's black, Monhorb's black.
Oh, yeah.
No way, Jose. That's the worst color I think you can put on. So we went to the yellow.
So, over those 30 plus years, what are some of your best memories?
Oh my gosh, a lot of them, but a lot of funny ones. I'll never forget the time we went up to, I wasn't shortly, but town of Madison. They had apartment fire on, it's now the Beltline. We went up there with the aerial. Finally, one of the firemen came over to me and said, "We got a problem." "What's that?" "Come over here on the aerial." Here we had one of the firemen that came by himself in a car drunker than a skunk. He was up there trying to raise the aerial. Out in the highway, not even near the building. He was going to raise the aerial. Well, so I got the biggest guy we had in the department.
I was going to say, times have changed, by the
Yes.
way, but that's, we got rules on that one now.
So we sent the biggest guy in the department to haul him off of there. And, oh boy. Then the same individual, or was that fire? It was a house fire. And anyway, the fire was in the basement. Here he comes, half loaded. He goes in and no stairway. Choo! Down he went to the bottom. Fire in the basement. So first thing we had to do is just get a hose line in there and just
Yeah.
pour the water in, but then we had to drop 2 guys down
To get him out.
to get him out. Oh my gosh. That's when your heart takes about
Yeah.
80 jumps, I'll tell you that. And that was the bad experiences.
What,
Well, the same way when we burnt the house down at the corner of Fish Hatchery and Greenway Cross. There was a nursery there at that time, and he said, the owner says, would you burn it down for me? I said, yes. So we had a couple of room fires and going, and finally it was to the point of letting her go. Where is so-and-so? I don't know. Well, you better go check. So they put ladders up and look, here he was up in a room yet.
Wow.
So they got him out through the window, then down the ladder. But that wasn't the end of that. After you were all shook up about that, here a guy walks up and one of the firemen says, this gentleman wants to talk to you. He says, did you ignite this house and start this fire here? Why? Asphalt shingles on the roof, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
He was from the state DNR.
Yeah.
No, I says, it was burning when we got here. Which it was. We had one of the guys go up there and light it, what the heck? We said it was burning when we got here. You sure? Yes, sir. Ask these guys here. So we got out of that and slick as yeah, when those type of guys come around, you gotta be a little out of line.
So what were the things that you were the most proud of in the years with Fitchburg Fire?
Well, the interest the guys had in the training programs that we had, not too big, and we were lucky enough to be good friends of the state training boys.
I remember that.
And they are always out to the station anyway, and they did an awful lot for me in training and writing training programs and that. Then I had 2 good friends that was connected with the NFPA, and they furnished me with books and all kinds of training programs and that. So I was lucky to have contacts with people that could help out that way. And I think looking around at the neighboring departments that didn't have that type of contacts, we kind of felt we were just one jump ahead of, and which that makes you feel good. And the guys themselves were interested because they had that feeling a little bit better, you know.
Always wanted to learn.
Yeah, always wanted to learn.
Always
Yeah.
wanted to try something. Yeah.
And we were always fortunate, and this is what burns me up, is a lot of departments are not interested, and they don't want to, or too much work, is to burn down old structures. I think that's the best training you can get the guys, is let them feel the heat. Let them get in there and find out what it's like. Because otherwise, just drilling a pile of wood out in a yard, that's peanuts. And we were lucky to always be able to burn down old buildings around here in Fitchburg. And I try to tell the department down home and others that there's so many old barns around, old houses around. Why don't you check with the owner? And because to demolish it and bury it costs more money than they realize, and how simple it would be to burn it down than just bury the ashes, and there you got it. And the training that the firemen get out of that, even hauling water, dumping water, whatever, you know, and you know, things like that, but some of these people, they think it's extra work, you know. We don't have to do that, you know. Well, baloney. That ain't the idea. And to clean up then we have to clean up all the equipment. So what?
Yeah.
You know, are you proud of your equipment or aren't you? So you have to do a lot of bullheading.
I mean,
But you got guys that were interested, would do it, and then they would tease the other guys, and then they would finally do it. But I think on-hands training is still the best. That's my philosophy. And with these old buildings, it's just ideal. And especially with a barn, a good place to show them don't get too close and don't get too anxious. We had one barn, it was over by Verona, and the guys wanted to go into the big doors where you drive the hay wagon in. They wanted to go in when it's burning. Well, that's the worst thing you can do, is you stay away and watch that roof and try to put out the fire with the hose. You know, there's so many things like that for safety reasons for themselves. Good training. But they don't. A lot of departments don't want to do that. I don't know.
Hands-on's good training.
Hands-on is the best training you can get.
So the last question is words of advice for you've given me plenty through the years, but for the department, for the community, for
I think,
for the future generations.
well, seeing and hearing and knowing, keep on the way you're doing it. You're doing a fantastic job here with your guy, and the guys all seem to be interested, and you can tell they're satisfied. They're interested in their work, and God, watching them today, they jump, and that's what you want. And I think that's great. Just keep that up. I wish a lot of these others could watch that.
Yeah, they did.
Could have watched
they did a
me
great
today.
job.
Today they were a wonder. That was great. I enjoyed that, and I think that just keep on.
I
Keep
can
on.
take that as good advice.
Yes,
Herman,
just keep on.
thank you for joining us today.
Well, this is
Spending your
an
time.
honor to be invited to go on a staged up fire, but that's all right.
Herman, thank you.
Hey, you bet. Thank you. Thank you much. That's great.